2021 taught us that like there's a lot more inside of us than we thought. We can bring a lot more to the table than we thought, and a lot of our limitations that we put on ourselves were just limitations we put on ourselves. It's like you can push through, and if you can push through, there's another level. 2021 like demanded it out of us, and when we did it, we were like, oh, we did it. We made it through the year. We shot all these weddings. Oh, we shot awesome weddings. There's more inside of us and inside of our business.
Right in my bag. Why you gonna try to get mad? Everybody wanna keep up. Don't you know I move too fast? I'ma zip right past. Drip all on my swag.
All right, hey everyone, welcome back to the Wedding Film School Show. My name is Jared, alongside Mr. Jason McCutcheon and Mr. Bobby Burns. Here for another awesome season of the Wedding Film School Show. We've been away for a little bit.
Yeah, we had a little bit of catching up to do.
We are ready to come back rocking and rolling.
This is our first episode, Jared, in our new studio. It is not really as we had pictured.
I know. We have Bobby coming in from Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Hello.
Myself and Jason are piping in from the great state of Massachusetts. And we thought that we would come back, chime in after just a crazy wedding season, and reintroduce the Wedding Film School Show Season 2 and talk a little bit about 2021, talk about some of the things that we experienced personally, and then maybe also hint at some things that we might be doing here in the future, and just launch into this awesome new season. So, Jay, how are we feeling?
Jared, I'm doing great. Like I said, this is our first episode in this new studio, which is like not what we had pictured. It's not done yet. We're literally sitting in a room, if you're listening to this and not watching it, sitting in a room with unfinished drywall around us and a black background a la like high school AV class.
Yeah, if you're
going back to your roots.
If you're not a Wedding Film School member and you don't have access to the video, I would recommend just getting a subscription, at least for a day, just to see the jankiness of our studio right now. It's like we're in an underground tunnel, and it probably sounds a little bit like we're in an underground tunnel, but we're currently revamping our studio space here. We're going to have something that's appealing to look at eventually. But as we're finishing up construction, this never-ending construction project, it definitely has roots back to AV class in high school. For sure.
So this episode,
it'll be worth the $5 just to see see your guys set up.
Yes. And our beautiful faces too, of course.
So Bobby, how was your holidays?
It was good. I mean, we're coming up and we're recording on New Year's Eve right now, guys. We don't quit for you. We work hard, even on holidays. But yeah, did Christmas with the fam, that kind of thing. So
that's great.
Good time. Yeah.
So this episode, we wanted to talk about what did 2021 teach us, specifically about wedding filmmaking. I guess we can divert into other things, but as wedding filmmakers, the industry, obviously, there's a thing called pent-up demand that happens when an industry gets shut down, which I don't really know what would cause a shutdown, but there was some reason we had a disruption. And there was a disruption, and then there was pent-up demand, people who didn't get married. So many people, I think, had an experience of crazy amounts of weddings, more than they usually did. I know for us, we did, I would say, about 70% more weddings than we normally do.
Jeez, and you guys already do a lot to begin with.
Yeah, we did crazy amounts. So there was like a combination of we had normal natural growth that we would normally experience.
Yeah.
And then we had our reschedules, which was unnatural growth.
Yeah.
And so we were, I want to say at the end of the year, we did 210 weddings. That's obviously extreme, but I just know plenty of filmmakers who normally do 25 who are doing 40 or doing 50. That's probably a lot of people. There's probably also, and I've heard this too, some people who 2021 screwed either because where they were in their business or in their market, they felt like 2021 was actually kind of a flat year. But either way, it wasn't a normal year for anyone, I don't think.
Yeah,
so we're going to talk about
anybody who just does like 20 a year and has done that for 10 years, 15 years, whatever, did the same number.
No. Yeah, the market kind of just, it seemed to, by market I mean couples, Couples just seem to have like reshuffled themselves, maybe.
Yeah.
Like they're
Yeah.
booking with either like if you're a really I can't explain it, but it just seems like they got together behind our backs and just reshuffled the
dare
whole
they?
industry. So there's a lot of weird
Well,
stuff
if-
going on.
And if anybody's interested, why we had our little break here on Wedding Film School, that's I think it was 210 weddings you guys did. That's
yeah.
there it is for you right there.
It's a combo of the weddings, and to be honest, the biggest reason is probably we had to
redoing the
shift.
studio.
We had to shift spaces, and we said, hey, let's go for it. Let's do something. We'll talk about the next episode, which is going to be what's next for Wedding Film School. But we said, let's go for it. Let's go all in and really push Wedding Film School to the next level. So we made a little sacrifice.
Every time we say next episode, can we just drop like a little like Dr. Dre like 5 second?
Yeah. I mean, I think I can since
I
it's
love
members
that.
only.
Yeah, that's the best idea you've ever brought to the table here, Bobby.
Wow. Is this which table are we talking about? The
this
Jenkins-
white table.
This
Jenkins-
white table
this
we just
white
found in
table.
the
all right,
hallway.
there we go. Yeah.
This table. So this episode, we're going to talk about what did we learn as wedding filmmakers from 2021? What did it teach us? And so I'd love to start with you, Bobby. What did you learn from 2021 as a wedding filmmaker? What did this weird year teach you?
Yeah, I mean, definitely a lot of things. As we kind of alluded to in the beginning, like everybody had a different year. Most people, it was a crazy year. It was an up year. You guys do 150 normally or something, and you did 210. For me, my 2021, and we kind of talked about this, the opposite side of that spectrum. Mine was, overall, it's hard to say for sure. It was probably a little bit of a down year. My 2021 was similar to my 2020, but my 2020 was only slightly down, whereas a lot of people, I think, were just like, I shot 0 weddings, So I typically try to do 15, but I've also been kind of like paring that number down anyway, so it's kind of hard to say exactly, all the things. But yeah, my 2020 and my 2021 both did, 10-ish, give or take a little bit. So definitely a down year. I'm hoping 2021 kind of gets back. But I think one of the biggest things that I learned, among other things, is like how much, and we kind of harp on this a little bit just in a general sense, but like, look, being creative is important. Creating good work is important. And it's important for your client. It's also important for yourself as an artist. That's why most of us get into this. But time and time again, I think over the years, we see people kind of just forgetting the business side of it and that it's also a business. And I think there is no year, more than 2021 where we were proven just how important the business side of things is. Like we were collectively, as wedding filmmakers, thrown into so many new scenarios where you just needed to know what you were doing. Like you needed to know how are you marketing in within a global pandemic. Can you market, or do you have to change your marketing? How are you going to handle shooting? Like if you went way up, right? If you shot like 50% more weddings, how are you going to cover those weddings? How are you going to have a work-life balance? How are you going to, if you're using second shooters, do you have enough second shooters, or do you have teams?
Or do they know what they're doing?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's a lot of people who brought on, maybe some second shooters that were more of somebody to hold a camera and pretend like they're doing something, And then I think, one of the biggest things, and I know in our kind of pre-meeting, Jared, you mentioned this, and I know this was a big thing too, that you saw posts and posts and posts of, right, for the first time ever, really, we had cancellations, postponements, not ever in the industry, but cancellations and postponements that were not just somebody being like, I don't know if I want to do it anymore. Like it was due to COVID or due to restrictions, or so like, how do you as a business, like everybody had to adapt basically in so many different business senses. And that was a big one, is how do you handle that? How do you enforce that? Right. And do you stick to your guns, or when is enough enough? Like I feel like we saw people who we're like, hey, this couple is rescheduling for the 4th time, something like that. Or, hey, our restrictions are limited to 100 people, but they want 150, so they're canceling and they want their retainer back. Like,
are you saying that
man,
clients don't always have our best interest at heart?
well, we've already discussed how they met behind our backs and collectively shifted, so. But yeah, I don't know, like, just like, man, did we really see the importance of, like, have your business figured out, have your contract be rock solid, like, know how to operate in these very, very weird scenarios.
Well, and it's like professionalism is about, like, I kind of laugh because I do understand when people are like, oh, my clients are my friend, Jared. Like, I want them to be my friends. Like, and there are clients who are my friends.
My clients are my friends.
Sometimes they're my friends.
Most of them. A lot of them.
I would say, though, it's like they're not my friends in the way that my friends are my friends. My friends, like, wouldn't screw me ever. Like, that's what a friend would do. Like, a client is your client.
Yeah.
And, like, and
they,
I think
they can be both. But, yeah, I mean, ultimately there's
I have never, sure. I would always say, COVID has taught me that, like, if it's good for them and not good for me, they'll do what's good for them. And that's being a business person. And so, like, when you have a level of when you think that the client, which I think this is more of a 2020 lesson, I guess, but 2021 was more like the residual effects of, did you make good decisions in 2020? And I was going to add on to what you said, like, that I think is more the way I see what you're saying was, like, the decisions you made in 2020 that were good business or bad business decisions, like the seeds you planted, like, became your fruit for 2021. And it was like instant karma. Part of it. It was like instant karma for people. Like that. I remember, like, the world slowing down for me in, like, March when the shutdown happened, and Jared and I were like bullet time, with our business. And I was
this
like,
weird perspective. You, like, launched out of the atmosphere and you could see it from, like,
yes, And I was like, this is what is going to happen. We're going to have more weddings than ever. A bunch of these people are going to try to screw us. So we had a contract problem to fix. I had to get a staffing problem fixed. All these major issues. And if we don't get this solved in the next 30 days, we're going to be absolutely screwed. Yeah. So we didn't say anything to our clients until we knew what we were gonna say that was gonna keep us from having a totally screwed 2021. And I don't mind saying, like, we in 2021, like, we made more money than ever.
Yeah. Because
of the way we handled 2020 and the
business.
I think
everybody was faced with this decision that was just like, how am I going to do this?
There's a barking dog running around this building, by the way. So I don't know where the dog is.
It's an Easter egg.
Again,
see if you can spot it.
We're in the underground right now.
We're like war-torn Syria.
I wanted to bring up too, just, it does seem like forever ago. It's almost 2 years ago since all this went down, and we were like, everyone's having this mad scramble of, like, what do you do? And I just remember going through a lot of these Facebook groups and just talking to a lot of professionals, being like, well, you want to have a heart. Remember the conversations people were like, don't
I remember talking
profit.
about that on Clubhouse.
Yeah, don't profit off of the pandemic.
It's not their fault.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we had this whole climate of, like, feeling empathetic towards our clients. And now, Bobby, to your point, and we talked a little bit about it in the pre-show, like, people are much more cutthroat. Like, hey, if you're going to pull this crap, like, there are other options, and people know what those options are. So I feel like nowadays,
you can still be empathetic.
Yes.
Like, I personally didn't charge rescheduling fees within reason. Like, yeah, our restrictions fluctuated all the time. If you, like, there was a time where you could not have a wedding. Mm-hmm. Like, so,
like, literally could not even attend.
Not like you couldn't have, like, 150 people. Like, you couldn't have 5. So I was like, all right. And they work with me, to find a new date. And I was like, all right, fine.
Yeah.
Like, that's fine. I get it. But there were also people who, like, I have a wedding that did not work with me to find a new date. Like, they had a lot of challenges. So I totally understand why they had to reschedule or why they chose to. And, but they didn't confer with me on their new date. And I'm booked. And I am trying to find somebody to cover it. And I might edit it and whatever. But, like, I was pretty clear. I was like, hey, I'm sorry, no, there's no retainer going back.
There's a
stuff like
difference
that.
between the person that's willing to just say, like, we had one client who was like, a month before the wedding, hey, we canceled. And then I call the venues. They're like, they canceled in January. They canceled like 5 months ago.
They literally lied.
Never told us about it. And they're like, we want all our money back. And I was like, no.
Yeah,
You're
so
not
I mean,
gonna
I think
get
you
any
can
money
be a
back.
good business person and you can be empathetic at the same time. They aren't mutually exclusive. But, you know, I mean, yeah, kind of what we found is like, hey, where's the point as an industry where, and not in like a malicious way necessarily, but like, where's the point as an industry where we're starting to get taken advantage
Well, and also
of?
the part of like when you look at what does it mean to be a business person, right? Does it mean you just have, I'm a business person, so I have
I
contracts.
do business.
Here's my contract. It's like, well,
Here's-
that's like one little part of being a business person is contracts. The other parts are like marketing, sales.
Enforcing your contract.
Have you
sticking
built
to your
a
contract?
Have you built a brand that can handle a rush in terms of like demand? Do you have email systems, like all the things that ended up happening? Like I always say, like, can you make your own rain? So like if you need more sales, can you get them? Can you create sales if you need them? It was like 2020 kind of created a scenario where that became important, and 2021 taught you if you did a good job. Like I into the year feeling like relative, like I don't want to pat myself in the back, or Jared. I'll pat Jared on the back. How about I'll give Jared all the credit. I feel like really proud of the business we built, and of course the art we create. But like when I look at like my monthly reports of my sales and also the clients and all the things we were able to do despite the like, really challenging scenarios, like that's a character thing, that's a people thing too, but it's also a business thing. And I think
combination.
A lot of people's businesses, I don't know if this is true. I don't know. I'm interested to hear you guys' opinion, but like, do you think some people's businesses that are wedding filmmakers took a hit in 2020 that they're never going to recover from?
Yes. So I think like one of the things I've kind of been, you know, for the last couple minutes been like, this is kind of like the condensed version of what I think I was saying is that, and I think it falls right in line with that, is that, you know, we had people running their business very much as a business pre-COVID, right? Pre-pandemic.
Yes.
I mean, you guys are definitely in that. You have multiple teams. Now you definitely grew. You took on more. You expanded, et cetera, through that. But like, there are people who are running their business as a business, and there were artists out there just making films. And there were people that were in the middle doing both very, very well, right?
Yep.
But like, you kind of ran the spectrum as far as like how, and it doesn't mean you're unprofessional, but like, some people it's a business, some people it was, you know, whatever.
If you are unprofessional, you're probably screwed.
Well, that's the thing, is I think basically what the last 2 years has done, and we really saw it in 2021 too, is like, if you were just like, oh, you know, I love just making wedding videos, I don't know, I don't really have like a contract, or yeah, whatever you want to pay, you know, like basically if you weren't running a business, you were forced to start running a business. Mm-hmm. And if you didn't do that in 2020, and you didn't make some of those changes, and you didn't figure some things out, you probably took a hit that, you know, of the level that it might not shut you down for the rest of your life or anything, but like it probably has a permanent little crater impact on your overall growth for the rest of your career.
I don't know how to even say the sales and the marketing side of a business is, for a lot of people, the least enjoyable and the hardest part, and the part that they want to spend the least time on. But it's the time that will allow them, or it's the actual part of their business that will let them choose the type of work they do. Yeah. And a lot of people's sales and marketing is pretty much like based on the fact that they shot one good wedding that got them a couple clients that they wanted. And when you no longer have that good wedding, you no longer have the ability to get the client. Yeah. And so the biggest issue I see is that the referral trees dried up for people, and the content-based marketing dried up for people. Yeah. So they no longer had the lift that they had from referrals and from having a sick video they did in Iceland one time. Yeah. And so it ends up being, they really actually have no way to generate business anymore. They got lucky one time. They got a client, their friend, their beautiful supermodel friend said, let's go to Iceland. And so they created a great film because they're great filmmakers. But when they get back and like 2020 shuts weddings down and they don't advertise at all. They don't do anything that actually generates leads. Yeah. And then they don't have, all the weddings are pretty much, I mean, let's be honest, 2020 weddings, some of them, of course, there's a type of filmmaker who's like, I love it, they're intimate, and they make a film that works. Many of us, our films, they're not structured that way. They're structured off of like traditional epic parties.
Yeah.
And our films...
Which didn't happen.
Yeah, well, and anyone getting married, like, people don't want that. Most people don't want to get married with two people in the woods.
Yeah.
They want to
get
married.
I did a couple weddings like that, but
sure.
Yeah, I mean, elopements, right?
Most people don't want that. Like, you can't. It's very hard.
Yeah,
to
I mean,
run
you can look at the stats. For every elopement I do 15.
Very 20. Hard. I would say if that's your business, you're gonna be, and you actually do the business regularly. Like, you're one of like a very small group of people who are able to eschew epic parties.
You live in the right place for
so most people weren't able to get a new portfolio. So they, like, if you're a portfolio driven artist and a referral driven artist, 2020 was really tough for your 2021. Yeah. And hopefully what you learned is that's a good strategy. You need that strategy, but you also need either network marketing.
Hopefully you pivoted and you found another way to add in. And now if you did, what you ended up with was maybe a normal-ish 2021, and then maybe now you kind of have both those streams going, and now your 2022 is probably going to be a growth year. And then I think, on the flip side of... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead, my friend.
I was just going to say, like, on the flip side of what I was saying, like, you have you guys. I was just going to give you guys some praise, so. But you have you guys who, like, I remember on a podcast, I think, or maybe it was just a conversation we had, but I think it was on a podcast where you guys were saying, this was in 2020, like literally predicting, you were like, this is exactly what's going to happen, kind of like what you said. We are going to get slammed with weddings in 2021. You were like, we're adding people to our team so that we can shoot more weddings. Like, we are planning to shoot, maybe up to double the amount of weddings we do. And so we are making, doing the legwork now to be ready for that. And then that's basically exactly what happened. And now you guys are going into 2022 with a new normal that is, probably almost, double your revenue.
Yeah, I think my biggest takeaway from 2021 was really creating systems and that allow us to survive. And it's one thing to have good systems and operate a good business, but it's also another thing to create really good art and a good craft while you're extremely busy, right? And having good systems is that thing that allows you to, take a minute and look at the work that you're putting out and be like, is this the quality that we want to be doing? So you're not just overwhelmed by just punching out, work over and over and over again. It's like, is this the quality that we want to be doing at the same time? And so 2021 for me was just like a big year of like putting together systems. That means for us, like staff, but that could just be like, hey, I'm going to template all of my responses to my clients because, it just allows me to save time and work on my edit a little bit more. Little things. We went through everything back in like, I think last winter. It was probably like January, February, March. I was like, well, we're going to have to do a lot of this kind of stuff. Being able to put these systems together in the winter of 2021 allowed us to be able to focus on our creativity. So I would say, yeah, we did a big year this last year. It was massive. We did, like Jason said, 210 weddings. But at the same time, I think we elevated our craft in general. That has allowed us to raise prices significantly. We've probably raised prices 25% in the last year. And also, accounting for inflation and kind of the growth market that we're in right now.
We got our boutique brand off the ground. We got our entry-level brand off the ground.
Yep. And now we're doing, aiming to do 5 super luxury weddings a year-ish in 2022. And then also probably doing, I think we already have 150 Stop Go Love weddings for 2022.
Oh my God.
And then doing probably 30 to 40 merriment films next year, which is our kind of low entry level film. So, growing, but also what is the quality, differentiating between brands, differentiating between like markets. And then also just like for us, like this doesn't apply for everyone. And I understand we're like kind of a niche in what we're trying to do and running this like massive, like behemoth, crazy, huge business, but also just putting out good quality. So that's kind of the deal for
Why don't you just, let me ask you, what systems did 2021 just kind of reveal to be just invaluable, like specifically?
I think what I always want to do is I want my interactions with my clients to be quality, but I don't want a lot of quantity. Essentially, like my clients will waste a lot of my time. So when I interact with them, I want it to be good. I want them to get all of me.
And that's mostly because they don't understand, right? It's not mostly because they're just like, most people just have normal questions that could be answered.
And like for anybody listening to this, we've mentioned this number multiple times, but if you guys are doing 150 weddings, 210 weddings, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Even if they each only take up 30 minutes of your time, just think about how much time that is.
Right.
But I would also say if you're doing 10 weddings, most of your interactions with your clients that you think are super valuable probably could be done by a robot.
Oh, I mean,
a self-robot.
I would say I have like one very impactful, interaction, and the rest is.
But anyway.
Yeah, I was just gonna say with that in mind, wanting to, not talk to my clients every single day. Some people out there will tell you to do that. I would recommend not going that direction, so that you can just focus on your art and focus on, even personal development, whatever. Anyways, so what does that mean? It means, educating the client really well. So later on down the line, they're not going to have more questions for you. What does that look like? What do your systems look like so that you can bring up the things like, for instance, we sell raw footage. Most people don't know what the heck raw footage is. So like explaining to them up front. Also, I wrote a blog about it. So, we're informing them. So it's like, hey, if you have questions on this, look at our blog. And most of the time that's going to answer kind of these questions. So systematically walking the client through the client experience I want them to have, where hopefully they don't have a lot of questions. Like what we do, guys, is like, it's a really nerdy niche, right? Most people don't know what the heck you do with video. They don't know shooting. They don't know editing the way that we as professionals would kind of just take that for granted. So walking them through that and walking them through it in a layman's kind of like way, I think is pretty important. So I think a lot of what I've done, this is just kind of one area of, I think the way systems can work for you is just make it super simple, as far as your client interactions. Also, I have Catherine, who's awesome. She kind of sets me up on all my phone calls, all my consultations. For me, that's meant I've had to train her the way I want to interact with my clients and, the information that needs to be conveyed. So that's another, form of systems that I've had to put in play. But at the end of the day, it's made it much more simple. And honestly, my consultations even used to take half an hour. I'm noticing they're 15 to 20 minutes now. So just like
every little thing counts.
Refining everything and making every little detail better is a big deal. So that's one way.
So I think thinking about your clients like systematically, and that's an interesting thing because I could talk about hard drives or all the things that we think of as systems which are not human, but like human systems, right? And so thinking about your clients, like I would challenge you, if you have any amount of weddings, whether it be 10, 30, whatever, write down the questions your clients ask you. Like if you don't know off the top of your head and you just don't know how to get systems, write down the questions they ask you consistently. Write down the things that you have conflict over. Write down the things that you think help you sell more. Like what are the things that are your clients' needs, wants, questions? And just every time you get one in that category, put a little tick next to it. Those are the things that need to become systemic.
Right.
Or
and
systematic.
It's not just client facing.
No.
On the back end, that's one example that personally, like I've really worked on, and it's saved me a lot of time, so I can focus on hopefully more of the art, more of, developing our staff members to be creatives and artists. But those are the things that will save you. On the back end, Jason is much more involved in like, storage and media management and like the hell that is. But like Jason is saying, and Bobby's saying as well, like no matter if you're shooting 250 weddings or you're shooting 10, like
we didn't always shoot 250 weddings.
You have to have these systems in play. And I would encourage you to set your business up to have these kinds of systems. Because, when you're only doing 10, you can be a little bit more loosey-goosey and just be like, I get to it when I get to it. And everything is in my brain. I know what my internal schedule is. I know what my internal systems are. But what happens when 2021 hits, 2022 hits, and you're like, I have to do twice as much work. I have to bring on a second shooter or maybe an assistant or whatever. You have to already have those systems in place so that other people can come on board and become a part of your ecosystem.
You could actually tell them, this is what we do. This is how we handle this. This is
most of the time what happens there is you're going to bring those people on in crunch time and when you don't have time to train them. So you have to have those systems in play, like ready to rock and roll. And it's not even just for like staff. It could be for your accountant. It could be for your lawyer. It could be for anyone that
it's
you're
real, but it's also for your clients.
Yeah,
it's like
totally.
It's not just what you tell someone, or that we're not just talking about automation either.
Right.
We're talking about like a system is, and actually, if you're interested in systems, we're doing a class about systems at WPPI called Systems for Your Photo Video Studio. So if you want to go over there, we have a code, Jason McCutcheon, which I asked them to make it Wedding Film School, but they made it Jason McCutcheon. We're also doing a photo walk with Bobby, Jared, and I about the basics of handheld filmmaking. So if you want to head over to weddingfilm.school/WPPI and sign up, there's a little discount code for you, and you can learn about like the systems that are the foundation of a scalable studio, and you can hang out with us, do some handheld filmmaking basics, and that'll be fun. But like I was saying, a system isn't just automation, it's what you do and when you do it. And so it's not just doing things, it's the opposite of reactionary. And that's the issue with a lot of people's businesses. They're pure reaction. Like if someone doesn't ask about raw footage, they don't tell them. If someone doesn't ask about, just anything in your business, Jared and I do our very best to have the same conversation with every client.
We just had a conversation this morning about Merriment Films, one of our newer brand, which is kind of our most scalable business. It's our most accessible. And, Jason was like, well, what are we doing to make sure that, people know what kind of music or they can select their own music? And I was like, no. Every single client I talk to, I tell them the pacing of Merriment Films is fun, fast. And if you don't like it, you can get out. Go hire someone else.
Every song is fast.
Get out.
Yeah. And that's like just a little sliver of a system that makes things easier on the back end so that, our editors don't have to be like, should I choose a slow song or fast song? What will the client like? It's like, no, I already took that out of the equation. So just pick a fast song. Here's 50 that we have on the music bed saved in one of our libraries. Use one of those songs. Like that's a system that saves.
Random number generator. Yeah,
exactly.
It's number 24 on the list of 50.
Yeah, exactly. On the Rolodex of music bags.
We, one of the systems we really invested in, and I see this, filmmakers, can you just understand storage, please? It's like we have the most data. Like it's just so crazy to me when I hear people and they're like, "What's my problem here? I'm plugged into this 4 terabyte Western Digital USB 3 drive and it won't edit." And you're like, because every single thing about your system sucks.
I'm doing a 10-cam multicam edit in 6K. Off my FireWire 400.
I will break down a system as quick as I possibly can, just so you can understand why this matters. So we had staffing things with 2020 that we were like, crap, we got to get the staffing things ready for 2021. I knew we had to hire a salesperson. So there's all these things. One system I was like, if we don't get this fixed, we're going to be totally screwed, was our storage. Our older system, we had a NAS, but it was really slow. And actually, this is one of the reasons we moved studios. Literally, we built this studio to get into a location that had Verizon 1G up, which is crazy. But we said
Wi-Fi for those of you.
So when we were
For the
planning,
photographers out there that don't understand.
Yeah.
you know,
For those who
yeah.
have to upload 8 gigabytes for a wedding or something.
and then
Yeah.
it's taking 30 minutes. We have to upload a terabyte a day sometimes. So we were like, so I said, oh, here's what we need. We have a remote editor in Illinois. We have an editor at this one desk. I have a station for ingest and 2 other edit bays. I need a supercharged NAS, super fast, and tons of storage with the ability to upload to the cloud quickly. So we invested probably 10 grand in storage in 2020 and started building that system out. And then I said, I need 10G Ethernet, which I think I already had that installed. But 10G Ethernet, which basically that allows you to have fast transfers within your own studio. So I can edit off of the NAS. So because it doesn't really do you any good if you can't use it. And so we got that built. And then we also created a system for how our ingest gets handled. So within like the day after we have all our weddings on Monday, we usually will have 2 to 3 copies, one in the cloud, one on one local drive, one on our NAS within 48 hours.
Yep.
And so that means our remote editors can get going right away if they need to. That means if the place burns down, we have no liability. Because the system is about liability too. And so we invested all this money in this one system, and it literally changed our life. It is the reason we didn't die in 2021, because we lost no footage. We had really no issues with anything. Everything is already backed up in the cloud. All our editors are humming and moving, and they're getting their stuff done in 12 to 14 hours with minimal time wasted on transferring back and forth. Like, everything is moving. And all because I was like, I'm going to invest in this system, and it's going to be important. It's not important today. It's going to be important tomorrow. And I think that's what a assistant, like what Jared's really talking about. And that system has a money value to me, because I can say yes more because I have that system in place. And a lot of people think about, like, they talk about, I only want to do 5 weddings a year, 8 weddings, 10, whatever it is. And I asked a guy the other day in a consultation, he said, I only want to do 20 weddings a year. I said, why? He said, the editing. I was like, why don't you just not edit? Would you be willing to do 25 a year?
That's me.
Yeah. Would you be willing to do 25 a year if you didn't have to edit them? He's like, yeah. I'm like, so you're actually making a false premise. Like, what you're telling me is you actually don't have a system in place to allow you to make more money, not that you don't want to shoot more weddings.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah, I think we turn down more weddings than ever, just because the client and their wedding doesn't really fit within our system. They'll be like, oh, I only want to do this, this, and this. I'm like, oh yeah, well, we don't do that. And you know, it kind of whittles down your ideal client too, if you want to get into that. But yeah, systems are the core of
whoever
who we
wants
are.
to do what fits into your world is what it is. And I do think that matters. You shouldn't say yes to everyone. But
What's your main takeaway from 2021?
my big takeaway is just how much better the work is when you do more of it. And how good you can really be, even in the middle of the toughest environments. Like, I just felt like every weekend we were just getting better and better and better and better. And I just think, like, I was a little surprised, I guess. I don't know what that would be a takeaway for anyone else, but I'm sure maybe other people experienced it, where, like, obviously there's that work-life balance side where, like, by the end of the year, no matter how good I'm shooting, I don't think that was a sustainable lifestyle. So I'm not saying people should just shoot 3 times a weekend. But I am saying there's something to be learned for practice, repetition, being on, and, like, doing better work. Because I've heard people say, like, oh, if I do 8 a year, that's my, like, sweet spot for shooting and doing better weddings. And I guess after this year, I kind of find that hard to believe. I feel like that's great for your lifestyle, and you need to make that decision. But I think the more you shoot, the better you shoot. That's just what I
think
saw.
I generally agree with that, but I would also say, like, obviously there's a limit to that, but also, like, you know, the people who are like, yeah, 8's my sweet spot, and they're maybe, I mean, I imagine they're doing pretty, like, hyper creative, awesome work or whatever, where it's like that yeah, what it really is it allows you to live the lifestyle you
yes,
want.
200%.
I mean, that goes both ways, where like that lifestyle and being able to live that might be what feeds into your creativity and your work.
I think it does depend on the work,
yeah.
for sure. Like there's someone like Alex Douglas who's going to do 8 films a year, and they're ultra creative, and you cannot do a lot of reps because it takes so much of your brain power to just put together like these creative ideas, because every film is so different. Whereas, you know, I look at our company and I'm like, because we get so many reps, we are such the quality that we can do in like September when we have tons of reps under our belt is so much better than what we can do.
Everybody knows
May.
that feeling of like knocking the rust off.
Yeah, you're just
after
banging off the rust. And so,
well, I think about it like if you're doing like, I always think I love like coffee. Coffee is like a huge hobby for me, and I have my like, you know, over the top setup at home that should be like in a cafe and whatever, you know, and make an espresso every morning. And I love doing latte art. And I always think, and I'm like, I get like a little bit better, but I do maybe one a day. And some days I don't, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, man, I want to just like go work as a barista for like a month, because I crank out like freaking like 500 coffees and have so much practice that I just like nail it, where it's like, yeah, if you're just like doing it over and over and over, you can refine so much and get so good.
Well, it's about creating
something
feedback points. And like you have this year, I saw so many feedback points for myself and my team that I was able to be like, just make these micro adjustments every weekend. Like, oh, so let's try this. Let's try. And by the end of the year, it was so fine tuned.
Yeah.
And I tend to think like there are people who have like, if you're charging $20,000 for your film, you don't need any of my advice. Like, you know, you don't need anyone's advice. You've made it. But if you're like trying to learn, I just think it's a mistake for a lot of people. And like what they really need is more and more opportunities to figure out what they actually want to do and make it better. And I think like what I'm talking about with 2021 is like the value of craftsmanship, the value of repetition and being a craftsman and seeing yourself as like someone who's an artist who needs practice and not as an arrived being who's like comes with this magical perspective. It's like we're doing something that's technical. We're technicians. We're craftsmen. We need to put our
could go
and women
so far as to say that practice perhaps makes perfect.
Yes, practice it's a value of practice and reps and like.
thanks for coming, folks. Yeah.
We'll see you next time.
But I get to see that in real time this year, and it was real in a crazy way, because you would think. I thought the opposite was going to happen, I guess is what I'm saying. I thought we were going to start shooting weddings and we would quote unquote get burnt out.
Yeah, and just template them and not
do a
care
crap job.
Yeah.
And it didn't happen at all. Like from the shooters that we have that are like maybe doing 10 weddings for us that are our newer guys, all the way to like, I cannot state this enough. There are people who shot their first wedding as a lead this year. Not their first wedding. They've done a lot of weddings as seconds, and who I'll bring up Victoria. Victoria, but at the beginning of the year had never led a wedding. She's a really good shooter now.
Yeah.
Like I tell I would tell a planner like she's gonna come and do a great job for you. She's a good wedding filmmaker now.
Yeah.
And it's just like you can get so much better, so much faster if you just give yourself reps, and also reps that are close together.
Yeah.
So you can,
I mean, especially on the shooting side.
And like, yeah, that information becomes muscle memory, but I was just surprised because I thought we were going to get really crappy. And I've heard this from a lot of artists in the industry who they're like, I'm doing great work. Mm-hmm. I'm doing awesome work this year. And it's like, I think a lot of us thought we were going to be all burnt out and suck. And actually we didn't. And I guess the motivational way I would say is 2021 taught us that like, there's a lot more inside of us than we thought. Like we can bring a lot more to the table than we thought. And a lot of our limitations that we put on ourselves were just limitations we put on ourselves. And
or
when
our
you
business or whatever, like that's kind of the like overarching lesson right there. I feel like that applies to everything we all said.
Yeah.
it's like you can push through, and if you can push through, there's another level.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's another level to your business. It's another level to your shooting and your art and your client services. And like 2021, like demanded it out of us. And when we did it, we were like, oh, wow. Like I'm sure a lot of people feel this way. Like, oh, we did it. We made it through the year. We shot all
Yeah.
these weddings. Oh, we shot awesome weddings. Oh, we trained.
Whoa, this is still my career path going
Yeah,
forward.
like
Sweet.
we were. There's more inside of us and inside of our business, and hopefully that was what you experienced. If you didn't, then you just have to keep listening to our show. And
So
the only way.
that's kind of 2021, guys. Like, where do we see kind of the industry going moving forward? Do you want to do a little bit of roundtable on that in general?
Let's do like a quick 30-second.
Right.
I'll go first. I think increased demand on wedding filmmaking in terms of like more clients getting wedding films. I think we have to figure out how to interact with social media in a way that lets us play with the TikToks of the world, the fast content, while also maintaining our artistry, which is going to be really, really hard, but I think we can do it. And I think also there are just great storytellers. The tools are making it so that we can just tell stories in beautiful, efficient ways, but are also artistically relevant. And we're all going to make more money. 2022 is going to be huge financially. 2023 is going to get booked up really quick for you guys. So you better get your crap straight and don't sell yourself short for 2023 because you're going to lose a ton of money. So if you start getting booked, raise those prices.
What about you, Bobby?
Yeah, I think that we are going to see more demand for wedding films. I think that live streaming is here to stay to an extent. Probably not like we saw in the height of COVID, but I think it kind of opened that window and made it more... Like, so much of it is just like, do people know that you can do that? You know what I mean?
Interesting. Yeah.
So I think that we saw... I think in a lot of ways, 2020, 2021 probably shut down some businesses, but like we were also talking about, I think it also created look, there's always a wave of new wedding filmmakers coming in and old wedding filmmakers going out. But I think what we saw is like this fast-tracked wave of very, very good filmmakers like cropping up.
Yeah, bring the floor up.
Yeah, exactly. The floor has been brought up. Like the level of creativity has been just forced to be more or better or whatever. And so I think we just saw this like general increase. And there's gear to thank and stuff like that too, but like this general upsurge in just like how good of content is being put out there. And yeah, I think 2022, I think that's the year. I know I mentioned for me personally, like my 2020, 2021 were kind of just like stagnant, like flatline. I think 2022 is going to be pretty crazy, and I think that's going to be a pretty big year for a lot of people.
It's going to be big.
Yeah. We say it all the time, wedding filmmaking is still kind of a smaller part of our industry. I think it's still only like 55 to 60%. I'd be interested to see the numbers this year after COVID. But I do agree with both of you guys. I think the overall market and overall industry will continue to grow. Definitely some interesting, filmmakers that are coming up. I'll be interested to see how their career is progressing. Overall creativity continue to expand. I think that an interesting thing that may happen in 2022 is the expanse of outsourcing as well, which kind of goes into running a business and that as an option. I don't think really existed before COVID for a lot of people. This was the year that kind of opened them up to being like, I need help outside of what I can do. So I think that is
and they're
here
not
to
going
stay.
back.
Yeah, I think our overall infrastructure as a community and as wedding filmmakers has expanded a lot.
We need more editors, by the way, in the world.
In the world. I think the world of
And
editing.
in your company specifically.
In my
Oh,
company.
yeah. If you want to apply, stopgalove.com/contact.
Fill out the form, say, I heard your podcast.
Yeah. But yeah, I think the overall infrastructure continues to grow. I think the opportunity to make more money and make this a career, if you're a part-time person, is there more than ever. So,
Well,
really
even the
excited.
idea of like specialist people who are doing,
Right on.
I'm just shooting like real production. Like
Right.
wedding filmmaking being more like run like, not like studios like the traditional way where they just they hire somebody, but like literally people like, I work at a wedding filmmaking company.
Stop
I am a
running
shooter.
your wedding film company like a photographer. How about that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am this role in this company.
Yeah, because I'm good at editing, or I'm good at shooting, or
Yeah.
I'm good at like, I think wedding films can scale way better than wedding photography.
I agree. Run it like an actual studio.
So,
Yeah.
hey, so thank you guys so much for listening to the Wedding Film School show. We are going to be doing our very best this year to be regular. And we probably will be doing, and we haven't fully talked it all through, but we'll probably be doing an episode every 2 weeks. One other thing we were going to let you, and we'll talk about this in the next episode, which is going to be talking about what's next for Wedding Film School. But we're probably going to be only releasing the videos on our members area on our Wedding Film School channel, our YouTube, which is our main hub. And then we're going to try some other ways to get podcast listeners involved. But no longer are we going to be releasing the episodes on our main YouTube channel.
But you will still be able to listen.
Yes.
Just won't be the video version.
The video version. So if you really want to see our beautiful faces, you can subscribe and you'll get some members content. There's other stuff we're going to be doing with members as well.
If you want to see the setup, the Jay and Jared setup right now.
Yeah, it's definitely worth the $5. But what I was going to say too is we do want to be connected with you guys in a more real way, and so please, the only way we know that this stuff is working is if you let us know. So please drop some comments. Connect with us. Figure out, follow us on Instagram at the Wedding Film School Show. Let us know what you want to hear about over the next year, because we're going full speed ahead with this thing. So if you're watching on YouTube, we love it. Thank you so much. We're assuming you're subscribed because you're a member, but you can hit all the bells, do all the things. And if you're listening on a podcast platform, a review would be amazing. It really helps us a lot and lets the world know that this is valuable content for wedding filmmakers and wedding creatives in general. So thanks guys for being on the show today. You too. It's good to hang out again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Glad
this
for
is
season 2.
This is fun. I always love doing the show, and honestly, I mean, the more I hear feedback from people that this show is actually helping them launch their business career, which happened a lot this last year, it just makes it that much more exciting. So we're excited to be back on.
All right. Bye guys.